All right, welcome to the Underdog Ecom podcast, where two ecom brand founders are figuring out in real time.
Yeah, we're not here to preach. We're here in the thick of it, making mistakes, testing all sorts of ideas, and really sharing the journey of how we've been growing these brands from day zero. Hopefully you learn a little bit, perhaps come away with some ideas that save you time and money. And so if you're tired of the same glittery D2C advice from those 9-figure gurus, you're here in the right place.
Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Underdog Ecom podcast. It's been a little while. David and I have been grinding away, but we're back, ready to catch up, see what we've both been up to, what's going on in the ESOL world.
Wait a second. Haven't we banned that word? Grinding away? Grinding? Isn't that are we anti-grinding here?
We are anti-grinding, but we've been working away. We've been chiseling it well.
And it felt like
Yeah, it's auto one. Yeah, it has felt like a grind. I mean, it has apart from a bit of blip today, which we might mention, I've been feeling like things have been improving since sort of January. It kind of feels like, I don't know, it's just because it's getting into spring, but it kind of feels like the whole ecom world is opening up a little bit and our sales are increasing. I think it's a nice time of year, I think, where things start to get moving, in my opinion. But I mean, probably not for all brands, but it seems that way.
yeah, flowers are blooming, allergies are raging, and ROAS are raising, or like slowly going up, perhaps, hopefully.
I've actually had some terrible allergies. I've been sneezing like crazy. Hopefully I don't start sneezing during the podcast because that won't be good.
Oh man, I've been under siege. I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I got sick this week and then allergies, and it's just like I can't think or eat or breathe or sleep or anything. So it's great. It's a great time of year. Loving it. Just having a ball. But I agree. Like I kind of feels like we're entering in. Like I just dropped my spring collection this morning, which was pretty epic, and it's doing fairly well. But I think like it does feel like spring is kind of the cold, bitter winter. We're getting out of it slowly, and I think March has been rough. February was rough, and I'm hoping April and May. And this is something I don't do enough of. Is like I'm curious if you do this. Like, do you look forecasting and go like, hey, last April we did this, last May we did this, and like we're here in March, we're doing year over year, this better or worse. How much does that play into your like weekly or daily or monthly operations?
Before I get into that, I've just checked out your spring collection actually, and like that, the anorak, the windbreaker. Oh my god, I love this thing. This is so much. I love the color combo and the shot of it hanging on the
Yeah,
clothes rack. Like that is so cool.
it's I'm wearing it for the record, and so it has shoe off. So the inside lining on the hood and the green parts, the green color blocks parts, have real topo lines from Mount Rainier. I use GS data and put it in the hoodie. It's very subtle. You can't tell on like not great.
I can see it online, but that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah, I like that.
Super fun little hit on that. This thing's pretty epic. It's lightweight and comfy, and thanks. The spring collection was fun. Was an extra little like lots of learnings there, of course. Lots of tons of prep. This is my first like ever big drop like this where it's not just like one-off things or a couple things here and there. And so holy cow, there's so much work that goes into it. And I feel like I'm still like, oh no, I need to post to my Instagram story and I need to make a video and do these other videos, all these sorts of things. But what was kind of fun is I added a bundle of all of the drop, and it's like buy everything in the drop, save $100, which I was like, I don't know, is that too much of a discount? I don't know. The retail is like $360, so it's on sale for like $260. I wanted to incentivize people to buy it all, and I didn't think anyone would. But this is we're 2 hours into the drop, and someone already did, at least one person. So that was kind of fun, and pretty cool. It's one of those things. It's like you don't know till you try it, so you might as well try it and see what happens.
Yeah, I think bundling is just like it's such a good thing to implement in many different ways. But yeah, you were saying about the forecast. I mean, I do look at year over year. I think sometimes it can be a little bit inaccurate because if you're out of stock on a certain time of year and you were in stock last year during that time, things can look skewed one way or the other. But I was looking actually at, I'm not sure from a profitability perspective, that's a whole other question, but from a revenue perspective, we're almost double this time, January to March last year, which is cool. But I mean, I'm not sure about profitability, like I said, so who knows? But Clio. Well, I do know. I think Clio is kind of showing me that we're not. But I do try and look at it. I think it's good to see, compare, and also not necessarily for your ego, but also just understanding stock, definitely. But I have not cracked the code on stock. I mean, I've tried AI stock apps. I've tried, and the thing is that I just think at our size, and maybe you disagree with this, but I just feel like at our size, it's so hard because I just feel like if you could, things swing very. It's not like a established brand that grows a small percentage that year, and they have the same sales channels as they always did. And if I introduce like a new sales channel or something, or like it could be like a whole big wholesale account, or start selling something on TikTok Shop or something like that. It's like suddenly everything that you forecast doesn't make sense anymore. And I still think the practice of forecasting makes sense, but I'm really struggling with forecasting this year. Partly also because we have some bigger wholesale accounts which have come in, which have made it really hard. But yeah, I don't know. I look at it and I think it's useful to know, but I haven't cracked the code on like accurately ordering stock, I think.
Yeah, that's so hard. It's super hard. I think you're totally right in this stage. When you don't have reliability and you don't have prior history numbers where it's like, oh, the standard deviation is pretty small, like given any year to year comparison. But now, no, you're seeing wild swings, and I feel like that's one of my biggest areas that is a struggle is like figuring out. It's also hard because I'm dropping different products, different seasons, different years, and so like there's no just center line metric to really like look at where it's like, oh no, last winter I dropped 3 goodies. This one it was 10, or like all sorts of, there's so many different variables that go into it. So it's really difficult. I'm sticking more on lines of like, all right, let's just order MLQs and stick with that. And like, yep, there will be things that sell out really quickly and that sort of thing, but like sticks to the, trying to err on the side of caution, I guess, in some ways. Because I've definitely made that mistake and overordered in the past and continually battle an overabundance of inventory in my warehouse and on my books.
Yeah.
Constant struggle right there. But you're right, it is hard. I was asking that question because I feel like I don't necessarily look at, like, I have no idea offhand how April last year was, or May, or March, for example. Probably not the best. I That's one area I could always improve in, I think, is knowing my numbers and doing that sort of stuff better. So I was kind of curious because like I'm probably more absentee with those things than I should be.
Yeah, out of interest, are you ordering in like a containers, or like do you ever order in containers, or are you ordering loose boxes, like dripping it in?
Yeah, it's mostly loose boxes. I'm finally at the point where I'm like preparing for winter stuff right now. And this jacket, for example, I started working on this. I looked it up. I started working on it in May last year.
Wow.
Um, and I've had it sitting in my warehouse for like a month or two, and so waiting for the drop. And I'm trying to figure out like timing wise, like trying to get things together and drop it at once. And and I've got some stuff lined up for summer that hopefully will launch in summer. But I've failed. There's like I've got a really cool flannel shirt, like a winter product that's arriving soon. And it's like, well, all these question marks of like, do I sit on stuff if it's not the right season for it or what? I don't know what to do. But I do feel like pendulum wise, I'm swinging a lot closer to like, all right, organizing drops, get them set up for seasons. And I'm not really doing the container. I have migrated more from air shipping to sea shipping. So I'm getting better at planning. That's been a big win because obviously um, C is cheaper, but slower. And there's been times in the past where it's like, no, I just need this now. I need this ASAP. And especially with the bigger, bulkier things like that, C or the air freight can really add up fast. A lot of my things are pretty light, so it doesn't matter that much. My quantities are lower. So it's not that big a hit, but like any dollar I can save, I'm trying. And so I have improved there. But no, I'm not doing the container game yet.
No, but I think one thing I've noticed a lot about um Rainier Watch is that we talked a bit about when we started the pod this time last year, I think. How I was talking about how I wanted to do more drops, and especially for next year and stuff like that. And I feel like you've executed on that better than I have for sure. Um, you've really like leaned into the drops, and it seems to be working really well for you. So it's really cool to see.
Thanks. Working really well might be an exaggeration. If you were to look under the hood, you'd be like, "What is going on here?" I Thanks. It's been, yeah, definitely been a hard process. And I think what's been interesting, I think from being on the inside of that is interesting to hear that from the outside, because I feel like I haven't changed it that much on the inside. I've changed a lot of the orientation of the marketing to be more drop focused, and you even use the word drop a lot more. Um, but I feel like I'm moving more towards those moments where it's like, here's a spring drop. This is the first one. So I haven't been doing it that much, but like moving more towards moments. Like here's a hoodie drop of a couple different hoodies. Um, Before, I mean, last year I was still doing random product releases, and maybe it's just the vernacular wasn't, like the verbiage wasn't there per se. But it's interesting to hear that. And I got burned bad by being over reliant on wholesale in 2024. Well, last year mostly. Like 2024 was a good year for wholesale. We did like 40% top line rev, I think, via wholesale. And then last year it was just a train wreck. Like nothing was working wholesale wise. And so I that's where I've like, all right, I'm gonna lead more with D2C first, more drops. Wholesale will be kind of like the caboose of the train, and like it will come along. And I still haven't solved the right sort of like way to do wholesale strategy, especially when it comes to an apparel brand that drops seasonal products that I'm always behind on. So I had a discussion just last week trying to figure out like what's the best approach there and how to move forward in that realm that makes the most sense for the brand. And there's a bunch of different things, I was brainstorming with Claude and stuff like that. So it's kind of been an like I've sort of evolved by necessity in some ways. But it's cool to hear that like outside opinion. It's always helpful to hear what is like how it's seen or how it's perceived.
Yeah. It reminds me, I mean, not it just brings on to a thought I had the other day. I'm looking for some financing because I'm increasing quite a lot the quantity of inventory I'm ordering this year for various different reasons, but more because of the wholesale side. But um but in any way, I was speaking to some lenders, and they were saying they were looking at our P&L and stuff, and they're saying, well, your liquidity ratio, a lot of your cash is tied up in stock, like a huge amount of your cash is tied up in stock. And I was thinking, well, yeah, but isn't that just the game of e-commerce that if you're going to grow, if you're forecasting any type of growth, you need to have a significant amount of cash in your inventory, because if you don't have it, unless you're just sitting on tons of savings, that's the other thing. If you've been being profitable for years and you're sitting on tons of savings, but in which case you're not really asking for funding, are you? So I don't really understand this kind of like. I feel like people don't understand the game we're in many ways, because of the fact that if you need and I don't want to push it too hard, because I understand, like, this is the finances of it all and the importance of it, but at the same time, like, you cannot grow unless you put more money in inventory. It's like there is no way to grow in e-commerce unless you raise your prices, but most of us can't raise our prices materially enough to make a big difference. Like, I mean, we can, but it comes at cost of conversion rates and all that sort of stuff. So putting that aside, you can only grow with more inventory. And it might be that one certain inventory sells faster than the other inventory, and I think that's a big part of it. But you can only grow with more inventory and selling that inventory. So I don't know, I find that really, really hard, and especially now as I'm trying to grow the business this year profitably, but I still have to invest a lot in stock. And I don't know if you find the same thing, but it's really hard because a lot of lenders, especially, are like, oh yeah, but you haven't got that much cash in the bank in comparison to how much inventory you're holding. You're thinking, well, yeah, because that's the only way I'm going to get cash in the bank.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22, and it is super hard. It's like that flip window of like, oh, we want it to sit on the books for 60 days and then it should be converted to cash. Like that's the goal or whatever, that's the target. And I'm like, well, it is hard. I feel like my stuff sits in inventory for too long and needs to be flipped sooner and converted into cash and that sort of thing. But you're right, kind of about like being a catch-22 situation. It is hard. Like running physical based businesses with inventory, like not, I would not recommend. Would not recommend. It is so difficult sometimes. I mean, I love it and I love making stuff like this, but like there's the underbelly of the whale is makes it really difficult. Gosh, that's hard. One thing you said to me recently, I have a new, unless you want to talk more about that, I have an idea.
No, no,
Uh,
not at all. Go for it.
Not at all. Yeah. Um, you had mentioned recently that you were looking to flip more levers with offers and bundles, and that's something that I haven't done. I've done a little bit with, I've dabbled with, but I want to do more of it. And you you were saying that it was working pretty well. I'd love to hear more about like what that has looked like and stuff.
That's true. Yeah, I think it depends on what vertical you're in, but I think that offers for new customer acquisition is a bigger lever than I thought. Because like I've started to do some free gifts with like basically just using like a bundle app to add a free gift in there, and also slightly more on the landing page so that it's not just a product page bundle page, but it's like a product page bundle page with a bit more to it where it kind of explains the offer, explains the savings, all that sort of stuff, explains like what's in the bundle, gets all that across a little bit more than just a regular product page does. And I've seen it do really well, and to the point where I mean, maybe a free gift that's maybe costing me net $10 to act, cost.
Mhm.
Probably an extra dollar in shipping because it's really not adding that much to shipping. Is I mean, like I think it's probably doubled our conversion rate off ads. Conservatively speaking, I think it's doubled our conversion rate off ads. And so, and I don't think and I think an offer like that it's not detracting from your brand proposition. I don't think people see it in that way. So I think free gifts the reason that I haven't done that much in the past, they actually been quite hard to. I think a lot of people. I don't know. I just think free gifts sometimes are confusing for people, but I've actually just done it as a bundle recently, and I've seen that work really well because there's no kind of like misunderstanding there, and if the landing page does the job of kind of explaining it, then it gets across. But I have definitely seen it improve, and I think there's the counter argument to this that it's all just they're all just kind of like a balancing act because if you increase like what you're willing to give, then and your conversion rate might go up, but then your CAC might go down, but then your the revenue is or your AOV is then going to go down as well, because they might have bought something that additional product anyway, or so there's all these questions, or the complete opposite of that is I've seen some people where they just run ads to like their biggest bundle, and it's like $350, and they're saying and I haven't seen that work for me anyway, where I just like go for like the biggest bundle and hope that it makes the sense because even if the cap goes up a little bit, I got this huge amount more revenue. I haven't seen that work so well, but I have seen work very well where there's an enticing offer that feels limited, that has some FOMO to it, but is also a good offer. So, and I think that's why free gifts are so good, is that you can architect them in a way that looks good for the customer, that is a good outcome for them, and it's also a good outcome for you because it's not actually costing you that much in terms of what could be costing you as like a discount. Like I had a birthday sale recently that cost a lot more to my bottom line than free gifts do, even if I offer free gifts to way more customers. So I'm starting to lean more into that. And I'm not even necessarily pointing it out that much in ads. I think um, from some data analysis I've done, I think our click-through rate on ads is not bad. And I try not to look too much at metrics like that because I sometimes don't know how useful they are because at the end of the day, what you're looking for is a conversion. I don't know how important click-through rates and things actually end up being, but I was thinking, well, let me try. I mean, if people are clicking through on the ads, but then like there's a hint that there's something going on that's just not enticing enough for them, especially when it's like we're a smaller brand, there's more risk. So I've seen it work better. Now, one thing you mentioned to me when I mentioned to you is, well, does that work in apparel? And that's a really good point. It probably doesn't work in the same extent, but I do think there are ways to do it. Like especially if anything works well as a set. And part of that, not like the whole set is free, but if there's something you can include that like works well with the set of apparel, like your spring collection or things like that, there might be some interesting stuff you can do, and you actually see. I'm sure you've tried it, but anyway, right?
Yeah, I feel I th- I think it's really smart. Like I think bundling and offer testing and that sort of thing is like something that's thrown out a lot in in our world of e-com, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the next level. You got to try it, and it's hard to try and not like. I guess I get stuck in analysis paralysis mode a lot of times when it
Yeah.
comes to this. And like I've tested a bunch of different gift with purchases, and I feel like I'm not like super great in terms of like putting myself in the foot of the customer as like a marketing guru kind of person. And so I think that the things that I've tested for offers, the things that I've tested with gift with purchase hasn't been as strong as it could be. And I'm going to try and lean on like a third party for a lot of this, aka Claude, um, and start to test this a lot more because I think you're right. Like I think that you're adding so much more contribution margin to your bottom line when you're looking and doing this, where it's like the costs, you like you said, shipping an extra thing like adds $1 in shipping, and like these very small costs associated with adding it and increasing your conversion and that sort of thing. Um, it's always been a struggle for me to be like, what should be combined and what should be bundled, and like that sort of question mark of like how to do it and what's the psychology behind it, and like where to discount and what to discount and what should be the gift and what are people actually looking for. And I think part of it is just having so, the root of a lot of my issues is being overstocked and having too many things and having a large catalog for my size. And so that rears its head in this situation where it's like, okay, shoot, I've got way too many of these other things, like, trying to figure out what to pick with what and what to pair, um, makes it all tricky. But I should sit down and do a lot more thinking about it, because I think you're right. Like, I think it's a really smart play if it works.
Yeah, but I mean, but I always say there's a huge amount of caveats with it as well because, like, I was listening to a podcast with David Heinemeier Hansen from 37 Signals, and I like his take on all this stuff because he was talking about like the Hey.com landing page, and they were asking about like it's a really cool landing page. Did you do any testing on that? He's like, no, I liked it that way, and so we built it that way. We didn't do any testing. But he's on the board of Shopify, by the way. So he's like he has involvement with e-commerce, and his point was like nobody knows anything, and this is kind of the thing about CRO actually. Is that kind of gets to me is that at what point is anything statistically significant? Because there are so many factors like in this world that go way beyond testing 10,000 people on a landing page that can affect them more than your landing page can. So, you can see all these external factors going on in the world, and they have a far bigger impact than the color of the button that you change on something. And so, I'm really trying. It's really tough to frame as an e-commerce brand owner. How do you figure out? And I think offer is high enough up on the scale where it can make a big difference. But I think with CRO, I'm not. It's always tough because I see a lot of people get wins from CRO, but I just also really prescribe to the kind of his thinking as well. That it's kind of like actually you actually make a lot of mistakes thinking that everyone knows more than you do as well about things, and that what they tried actually is statistically significant, or how the way the story they've made in their head about why that worked, is that actually true, or is it just a story they've crafted? And there's another thing I was interesting about, seen about that as well, which I thought was really interesting, is that they're talking about a podcast which is really famous here in the UK called Diary of a CEO. It's very and he interviews, it's got his name Steve Bartlett, and he interviews like uh just all these like gurus and lots of different things, like a sleep guru, or like he'll interview all these people that say like outlandish things, like people are going to say like AI's out to destroy human race and stuff like that. But the reason being is they're all the very successful millionaires. And what this guy was saying about these podcasts is that they're all contrarian in the sense that they take a stance on something. But that what they all do is they basically say, I'm rich because I took this stance on such and such. But and you take for granted that that is why they're rich, and it's not the fact that they actually just got lucky that they're rich, and it's not got anything to do with the story that they're making about how they got rich. And it's kind of the same type of thinking, is that people like to create stories around why something happened the way it did because it works well for themselves and their own ego, but also as listeners, as consumers, we do the same thing. And I think it's really interesting, actually trying to separate yourself from that, even in e-commerce, and understand that there's actually, just because all these other people are saying that that's the way to do it, or because people take this contrarian stance and it sounds good, especially on places like X and stuff, where someone says something it sounds really good. It's like, yeah, but you know, what do they actually know, and how much of an impact is that going to have for me as well?
So much to unpack there. Hey, funny story. I listened to that pod after you mentioned it in the Underdog Ecom Slack, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, I've actually loved DHH and 37 Signals and Jason Fried, and like they're so contrarian, and like you're saying, like they were kind of like operating on gut feels in a lot of ways when CRO stuff. And I think you're right. Like there's only so much data, and there's only so much, it's like the data doesn't lie, sort of, but it does kind of, because you can't test it with a million different sample sizes, and there's small sample sizes, and there's so many ways to change that. And I loved that approach when they're just like, yeah, we liked it, so we ran with it, and like obviously it's worked for them. They're very smart at what they do and the niche they operate in, and they're very loud and outspoken about their particular like contrarian takes. I think you're right about like it isn't necessarily like a lot of times it's right place, right time, right thing, not necessarily like the actual stance itself or whatever that people are taking. Um, I think that what comes to mind, like who is it? It's Bart from Dad Gang. I think a lot of times on Twitter over the last couple of years, he's kind of shared like, I just did this and ran with it. And he's
Yeah.
really good at marketing. He's been in D2C for decades or whatever it is kind of thing. So he's got that experience and he can draw on that, kind of run with that like gut feel in a lot of ways. And I think that you're right. Like there's only so much that we can, it's like you just kind of have to like run with it sometimes and see what happens and move on. The Yeah, that was an interesting pod. I like that. I appreciate you sharing because it was cool to talk. It was a long one too, I think.
It was a long one, yeah. It took me a few days to finish, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's there's just something to be said in e-commerce. I mean, taking it back to e-commerce, I think just and there's just or even starting your own brand. There's something to be said about actually doing what you like and not just doing what what everyone else is saying is the correct way to do something. And I think you learn a lot as you go along. So I'm not saying that you don't have all these skills that you pick up on marketing or, and there's definitely like fundamentals, whether it's finance or whatever it is. There's a huge amount of fundamentals that I think both you and I have picked up along a lot as we gone along. But I also think there's a huge amount to be said for actually doing something because you like it, and not necessarily because you're worried about how other people are going to perceive it. Because a lot of the time it just creates contention because actually what you really want is to find people that like what you like because that there's a better chance of you succeeding. I think
Yeah.
easier said than done, but
Yeah, that's true. I think what's that ism that's thrown around a lot right now is like taste is underrated or something, or like, with the democratization of everything via AI, like you could have AI do anything. It's like, yes, is the last thing that it can't touch or whatever. And I think you're right. Like as you run your own brand, your own company, or your own whatever, you're gonna be a lot more interested in it if you like the things you're doing, or like you're doing things that you like to attract people that are like you or whatever. Like that just comes out naturally. That like I guess passion maybe comes out naturally, and so it kind of is like a self perpetuating cycle where it's like, oh, I love topple lines on anoraks, so I'm gonna do that just because I think it's super cool, and hopefully I'll find some other people that like that too, and it's kind of working and kind of not.
yeah, yeah,
But the data only goes so far sometimes where it's like, do you want to love your job and like enjoy what you're working on all day or not? It's deep questions right there, I guess. Deep
yeah. It
questions.
really is. It really is. Yeah.
Interesting. So we've talked about offers a little bit here. We've talked about um other things. I forgot. We had another.
We
So you've had. Go ahead.
But no, I mean, we could talk about that. I was going to say there's some stuff on like the AI side of things that we can chat about, but I suppose we'll get it out of the way because we can might want to mention again another pod. But yeah, this morning I woke up to basically my Facebook account being banned, my personal Facebook account, and I literally don't really post on that account at all. I don't really use Facebook, only to access my Meta ads account, basically. Um, and I didn't explain, like they never do. It just says like for violating community guidelines, whatever that means. I have no idea. Um, and I so I clicked on it. It says you can only appeal this once. So I thought, well, I'll try to appeal it. All it did was ask for a scan of my face. Didn't ask for like any explanation or like that was their version of me appealing it was scanning my face. So I just scanned it, sent it through. Half an hour later, said we've rejected your appeal. Your account is now disabled and there's no more appeals. So that's it. Um, so yeah, so that was the big, yeah, that was crazy. I just couldn't believe it. Like I was trying to figure out, when I first got the email as well, I thought it was spam because like I'm sure you as well get a ton of like random Facebook people pretending to be Facebook or Meta saying your account's been disconnected or violated or whatever. Um, So yeah, ended up being real, and for some reason my personal Facebook account just disappeared. No idea why. But the worst thing is, and I think the reason I'm mentioning this really is because anyone who's listening, add somebody who you trust as an admin on your ads manager or your business account, um, because because you never know. I didn't think this was going to happen to me, and I can't believe it's happened to me. I can't access any of my ads manager because I was the only admin. Even though I had a couple of people on the account, they can't add anyone else, and they can't. They actually had very limited positions. So they can't really do very much on the account, and nothing to do with billing or anything. And I'm the only one who had admin access, and then because Facebook forces everybody who accesses anything to do with Meta to have a Facebook account, you if your Facebook account goes, you lose access to everything. Um, so yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm really worried. Obviously, I'm quite dependent on Meta for traffic, for sales, for everything, especially recently. So as I've been having some pretty good, like more success than normal. Um, so it's really real shame, and it's been eating away at me all day. But yeah,
Oh, it's like I'm like, all right, I need to set up a to do right now to have add someone to my account because that is like it's so frustrating that they hold the ball in chain and handcuffs or whatever metaphor that is, and that is probably like the top 3 worst thing that could happen to ecom brand. Like, I'm sorry, that's just it's so appalling and horrendous that they're a $1.3 trillion company that doesn't have any proper protocols in place or people you can talk to or customer support or anything. We could really like hammer that to death, like for sure in another episode, just like how bad Meta is and everyone knows it and that sort of thing. I mean, they just don't care. But if anyone out there in listener land has tips, has gone through this, leave comments in the YouTube video or shoot us an email or whatever it is. Like, um, just I can't imagine. I'm sorry, Jack. It's like
yeah,
the worst thing.
no, it's all right. We'll see what happens. I think I've seen a lot of it's happening to a lot of people at the moment. I think because actually Meta started to, what I've understood, they've started to do a lot of these like weird verification things with AI or with automated verification things. So it's happened to a lot of people actually. And again, personal accounts, which I didn't know because I assumed it was always like I created multiple business ad accounts, ad accounts in my ads manager because way back when because someone told me, oh, you should do that in case your ad account gets disabled. I never imagined my own personal Facebook account would get disabled. I didn't think that was a thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm leaving it here just so that anyone's listening can go ahead and set up some guardrails so that if that does happen, and it could happen to anyone because if I didn't think it was gonna happen to me, but yeah, it's worth just being ready for that.
I'm hoping next episode that we record, you'll come back and be like, it's resolved. We're good now. Cause like, yeah, let's hope and pray for that. Craziness. Was there? Oh yeah, AI stuff. Yeah. What we're 30 minutes in is like, what have we been doing lately? That was kind of one of the goals that we wanted to talk about this episode. And we're here now. And I feel like we want to talk about AI stuff. We also don't want to beat it to death because it's changing a million miles a minute. Claude is releasing like 50 features every 10 seconds, it seems like, which is 50 game-changing features every 10 seconds. And I've been maxing out my like session limits every day and week for the last couple of weeks and stuff and building all sorts of things and automating all sorts of things. And so um it's tricky. Like I'm curious like what you people want to hear about. Do you want to hear more about it, like what we're doing it or whatnot? But because every episode could be about like what we did in AI the last couple of weeks almost. Um it's crazy. It's a crazy land. I feel like it's really interesting too, because we've talked about this before where it's like in this niche of ecom, like we're on the cutting edge of everything a lot of times, very low margin businesses. So anything that can give us that multiplier effect, that can give us that extra edge, we'll adopt like crazy. And I feel like the ecom people are just like fish in a pond, like snapping up every single little AI thing. And there's like 50 AI tools that pop up every 10 minutes. And so we're all just out there like drinking it up like a fire hose. And it's not the same for every industry for sure. We've talked about this before. Um, but yeah, I figured we maybe could get into a little bit. Curious what you've been up to with it and that sort of thing.
Yeah, on my side, well, some really interesting stuff. I mean, again, a lot in Claude. So on the side of like scheduled tasks, I think I mentioned this to you before, but I don't know if I've chatted on the pod about it. But I've got like a little Mac Mini which I bought secondhand, like an M4 Mac Mini with a bit of storage, and it's actually been so cool because I can.
He's in the Mac Mini, folks. He's down the Mac Mini. As our farm, watch out. Botland.
But it's been, yeah, I know, and I thought I did it a bit of a get like a bit of a fun to kind of learn about stuff, but it's actually been really cool because I can schedule tasks and have it running. I just don't turn it off. So it just stays on. I can access it whenever. I can just use screencast. I can like access it from my own computer. So I can just like on my laptop, and I can access it and just have it run some stuff. And I can also even do it from my phone. So I can like there's like dispatch now in Claude, so I can like send stuff to it to do. I can have scheduled tasks doing, and I have all my files in there as well. So I'm not like quite easy in terms of having all the files stored there as well. And I can still access it. And actually, the great things about Macs as well is I can airdrop it to that. I can send it back. I can literally move my cursor and it goes over to the Mac Mini. And it's just like it just feels like it's an extension of my laptop without having to have it there all the time. So it's been really cool for like scheduled tasks with analyzing performance. In terms of I mean up until today ad performance and things like that. Yeah. And then also I've actually been using it for wholesale outreach, which has been pretty cool. So I've connected up to Gmail, which is slightly dangerous, but I it just creates drafts in my Gmail to like I've got a spreadsheet which it just keeps updating on my computer of new like stores around the US that would be like our product specific, like specifically tennis stores that would be interested in buying our products. So that literally once a day comes up with like another 10 or so stores it's found. I have it where it like checks the email 2 or 3 times, and if it can't find the exact email, it just skips that store because I don't want to like bother sending to like emails that aren't right. So and then it just adds the spreadsheet, and then it creates a draft in my Gmail to them, so I can just kind of email them and say, you interested in stocking a few. I'm just basically trying to get some smaller fair wholesale orders coming through. It's like a little just kind of to build that up. So that's kind of what I've been doing, but mostly in Claude. What about yourself?
Oh man, that's before I get into my video, that's amazing. I've actually wanted to do similar stuff to that. I have so many questions. Like, do you have the Google Workplace or whatever? Is it sending the emails from your domained Google Workplace email, or is it a separate email you set up for this?
It doesn't send the emails. So it can only draft. So I basically just have it just sits in my draft, which is actually a good thing. I mean, it sounds good to have something sending emails for you, but you'd have to place a lot of trust in to do that. So I'm quite happy with it just being in drafts, and before it sends, I can have a quick look and make sure that is what is, it's not just injecting something in there that, so I like that. So it can't send emails, but it can actually analyze emails, and I found that really useful as well. I can if I've got like a chain of like 50 emails with my supplier, and
Mhm.
sometimes I can I've got like 3 different chains with 50 emails with a supplier, and I have no idea in what thread of the email they've mentioned something piece of information I'm looking for. I'm sure you found the same thing. And it's like oh no, yeah, and it's just a nightmare. And I hate emails for that reason, because trying to find information in emails is so hard. But
Yeah.
the great thing about I could just say like, where did they mention how many yards of what such and such I'm going to need in order to be able to play, and then I can see it, and that saved me so much time. Yeah.
I'm done the same thing. It's so funny. It's so funny how things can be similar. I was curious because I was wondering, like, if you're sending out tons of emails like this, like I've thought about this wholesale outbound process, like this wholesale sales process, that sort of thing. But I've been like, oh, I probably should like use a CRM for it, and I probably should
Right.
set up a separate email like domain for sending, so I don't get like the domain blocked and hurt the IP for sending normal emails and stuff like all these different blockers. Um, like, are you finding you're sending dozens of emails a day, or just like a few, or like hundreds, or like what does that look like?
No, no, yeah. It's at the moment it's probably less than 10 algot a day. I mean, and I'm wary of that. You made a really good point. I mean, like especially if you don't know the quality of those emails, and you don't know, even if Claude says it's correct, you don't know. And to be honest, no sort of like cold emailing software is going to have all the correct emails. So like, there's always a risk that. So I think it's the next step is to create maybe some sort of CRM thing, either vibe code that, integrate with something that is doing that already, connect it with a separate domain that kind of sounds a bit like yours, like all the top cold email people do. I think that would be the next step but I thought, why don't I do it this way? See if I'm getting people to bite, because it's a bit more personal coming from me, so they might be more likely to respond. And if I'm starting to see some things happen, and it's early days, but I'm starting to see some people get back to me, maybe a couple of orders come in, then I can say, right, this is actually something worth automating, setting up like a CRM for it, a separate email domain, all that sort of stuff.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. That's cool. Man, there's so much potential for things like that. Like that's something that's been on my to-do list, but I haven't done it. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things like, yeah, you'd have to hire a VA to do that. You have to like, if you're never sure, I mean, especially unless you're working with that VA for a long time, you're never quite sure where, how good they are at getting those emails together. It's all stuff that like we would have done previously, but it's just that little bit easier now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You asked me how I've been using it. Like there's been a lot of like, man, so many things. Like I built out a tech pack generator website the other day. Like it was an internal tool, a skill I built, and then I turned it into a website and deployed it on Vercel so my team can use it and stuff. And like, yeah, I've been patching different features and bugs with it. It's been so fun and it's like really useful. The print shop I usually send orders to, she was like, "Hey, can you?" I was like, I told her about the tool and stuff. Like, is this more helpful than our normal orders? She said, "Oh yeah, okay. Is that what like? How are you doing that? I need to send that to other customers of ours." Um, so it's like doing things like that, setting up weekly reporting. So it's like, all right, now on Monday morning, I get report of email analytics from Klaviyo's emails that have gone over the last week, and the same with paid ads and like the different things that I haven't had a lot of transparency and that I can like sit down and actually like go through those and check on things. Um, I want to build out like a whole product life cycle sort of like plug-in probably because it would be a bunch of different skills set together. I've been building little skills around copywriting. Like here's the copy that I want for product announcements on Instagram. And here's the copy for the emails. And so like the spring drop, for example, I set up like the whole schedule of things where it was like, all right, multiple teasers beforehand, multiple things day of and following days, and like texts and emails and Instagram comments and copy and their private Facebook group copy and all the things like
Yeah.
flesh it all out. Um, So yeah, and then I've got like I've wanted to actually build this, like, I think I told you about this like, e-commerce OS sort of idea where it's like all of these things in one. Cause I also have that dashboard I build out for cash flow where it looks at like what's the most critical thing to pay for payments and what the balances look like. And I run that every Monday and pull in numbers from the Mercury MCP and a few other sources and stuff. And then I want to set up the tool to basically analyze Facebook ads and have like a history of like what's worked and what hasn't, and like come up with ideas to go forward in testing because that's been very wild west. Basically, like I don't have a good background besides what's in my head of what I've tested and what I should test next. Um, died. So many things like tracking. Yeah, it's just like all the stuff. Could probably spend another hour talking about all these little things, but it's
I
been
think
really interesting.
the e-commerce OS thing is really cool. Because not because like there's the notion of like outdoing existing software. It's just the cool thing is making something that is perfectly tailored to what you need and nothing else. Like we use ClickUp a lot for all the stuff in this other stuff that I do for other brands and email and stuff like that. But I often find there's far too much in ClickUp for actually what we need, and it's almost a distraction more than it is. And I've
Mm.
played with the idea of building out something cleaner and easier that would actually make it easier just to see what we need to see and not have this. Especially ClickUp now, it's like got a gazillion different AI tools. It's constantly trying to get us to, like get these AI agents and stuff. And to be honest, I'm just like, I don't think I'm gonna use ClickUp AI like in the way they got it. So, and it's just so much in your face stuff, and it's that sort of stuff. And I'm pro AI in many ways, but it's when it's you have this like they're definitely like just putting it every which direction.
Well,
Like in the yeah, it's absolute slot. And so I would love to just. I mean, what isn't what's putting me off at the moment is getting other people on board with it, but like to use it, but I mean, there's a lot of these apps are pretty bloated now, and because they're trying to be something for everyone, and I'm sure they're so well built for that purpose of being something for everyone. Like I would never try and outdo them on that. But I feel like for your business or for an e-commerce business specifically, building something out could be pretty cool because I think there's so many things that could help. It's just that these platforms are more like tailored towards like SaaS and agencies and things like that.
yeah, it's kind of like we try and cater to everyone approach, but not anyone.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Like I feel like we're in such a pivotal point where it's like, oh, anyone can SaaS anything, which I think there's huge drawbacks too. It's like, a couple months, I think we're going to see a lot of people with abandonware projects where they're like, I built out this huge thing and then I realized that I have to make it compatible with all these different operating systems and then I have to maintain it and like keep a change log and keep bugs. And like, granted, I'm not writing the code to fix those bugs, but I still need to have the bugs tracked and then I need to patch them. And like, it's like managing software, like writing the code was hard, but it wasn't necessarily like the reason why software was hard. Uh, so it'll be interesting. I think that there will be some whiplash from all of that in a couple months where everyone's trying to DIY their own things. But I think you're right. It is very interesting and very fun. And honestly, like a video game, it feels addicting where it's like I can make it anything now and build it to my exact use case. And there's definitely a place for that, I think.
Yeah, and something like a tech back generator, like an internal thing like that, there's not a lot of harm that can be done there because, first of all, there's not probably anything really like that out there because maybe it's just not enough use case for like a lot of people for it to be, have some monetary value. But for you, that's really good. And actually, probably it's like for me, something that would be really good. But it's really useful because and it's also not like pulling through 1,000 different APIs and that could change and exposing keys and all that sort of stuff that is kind of the downside of it all. So I think that's where the biggest wins are, I guess.
Yeah. Um, cool. Should we wrap this? Like we're pretty lengthy at this point. Thanks for sticking.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Very long-winded, I guess. It's been good. Let us know what you want to hear about next episode. We'll be chatting through still more ecom topics and everything that's top of mind for us as we figure out how we roll in this world. And hopefully Jack will be back with all sorts of great meta updates and everything.
What are you hoping so?
Yeah. Oh, 5-star review. Like, follow, subscribe. Always. All right. Thanks, y'all.